UFC Fight Night Burns versus Brady is this weekend, and I'm going to go through and give my prediction and breakdown for who I think is going to win every single fight on the card and how they get it done. I made a video earlier, last week, but there's been a couple changes to some fights I didn't cover in that video, so I'm just going to make a whole new video, go back through the fights, and give my predictions once again in a more updated video. Starting with the first fight on the card, which is one I did not cover in the other video, Zygimantas Ramaska, versus Nathan Fletcher. These are two tough guys. They have Zygimantas as an underdog. I like him as an underdog. I might pick him. So Nathan Fletcher, if you don't know, Nathan Fletcher, he's going to try to grapple. He's a heavy pressure grappler. He lost to Khan Offley on the Ultimate Fighter, who got chinned brutally by Myron Santos just last week or 2 weeks ago. But he's going to try to grapple in this fight. He's going to try to wrestle. Zygimantas Ramaska is 5'11". He's a big featherweight. Nathan Fletcher, he's 5'7". He's a small featherweight. However, sometimes those short, small, stocky guys for the division are the guys that are the better wrestlers that can actually impose their strength and get these tall, lanky guys down to the ground easier. So I would lean Nathan Fletcher, but Zygimantas Ramaska is really good at using his length to stay off the mat. He's really good at stuffing takedowns and staying on his feet, not getting taken down. And I just think he's going to be able to keep Nathan Fletcher at range with his kicks, with his jab. I think he's just too tall, too long, and I'm not sure I trust the grappling of Nathan Fletcher, but he could go out there and just wrestle Ramaska and hold him down for 3 rounds and win a decision. I could see that happening, but I think I'm going to trust in the length of Ramaska and his ability to fight really well at range. So I'm going to take the underdog. I'm going to go Zygimantas Ramaska. I think he's going to just keep Nathan Fletcher at range and outpoint him to a decision win. So I'll go Ramaska by unanimous decision, 30-27. Moving up, Andrade Petroski versus Dylan Budka. I said it last video, I'll say it again. Dylan Budka cannot fight. He sucks. He is terrible at fighting. He is an alleged wrestler with high school champion this, college that, all the stuff. I said this in the last video. Dylan Budka cannot wrestle. It's all made up. His wrestling accomplishments do not exist. He just clearly has never wrestled, because if he had, he would have been able to take down Cesar Almeida, who got taken down by Roman Kopylov, who had some of the worst takedown entries I've ever seen in my entire life. So Andrade Petroski is going to beat him just because he can actually fight, and he actually has talent. So Andrade Petroski, this is a step down from Josh Fremd, in my opinion. Dylan Budka should not be in the UFC. He's terrible. Andrade Petroski is probably going to smoke him. He's a better striker. I don't see Dylan Budka improving his striking exponentially since his last fight, where it did not look good. He's going to be a better grappler. He's a better wrestler, because Dylan Budka, once again, cannot wrestle, even though that's literally his entire career is wrestling, and he still can't wrestle. So I'm going to take Andrade Petroski to probably submit Dylan Budka. He's got pretty good grappling, pretty slick submissions. So I'll go Andrade Petroski. I'll say he gets it done by round 2 submission over Dylan Budka, who cannot fight. Jaqueline Amorim versus Vanessa Demopoulos. Vanessa Demopoulos is shit. She can't fight. Jaqueline Amorim is going to beat her because she can actually somewhat fight for a women's MMA fighter. So I'm going to take Jaqueline Amorim by decision. I don't care. Yizha versus Gabriel Santos. Now, Yizha is 25-4. However, he's fighting cans. He's from the road to the UFC, which is like the Asian tournament style thing the UFC does. And a lot of those Asian fighters have a bunch of really good looking records, but it turns out they're fighting absolute schmucks who can't fight. And that's who Yizha is. He's fighting schmucks. That's why he's 25-4. Don't believe the record. He's not awful, but Gabriel Santos actually fights really good opponents. He lost to Leroy Murphy by split decision. He lost to David Onama. Those two are infinitely better than anyone Yizha has ever fought in his entire life. So I'm going to trust Gabriel Santos to get it done, because he's been in the cage with much higher levels of competition. I think he's fought way better people than Yizha has. Yizha is not going to bring anything new to the table that Gabriel Santos has never seen before. And I think Gabriel Santos, this is a must-win fight for him, coming off back-to-back losses, although they were two pretty good fighters, in Lerone Murphy and David Onama. You don't want to go 0-3 in your last 3 fights. You don't want to go on a 3-fight losing streak. So the pressure's going to be on him. He's going to be feeling it. And this is a perfect opportunity. This is a perfect opponent to bounce back with in Yizha, who is just, I don't think he's UFC level. And I especially don't think he's on Gabriel Santos' level. So I'm going to take Gabriel Santos by decision over Yizha. Gets it done there. Felipe Dos Santos versus Andre Lima. Andre Lima is now minus 180. Yeah, I picked Andre Lima in the first video. I'm probably going to stick with Andre Lima. I think he's got really good, quick, fast, and powerful leg kicks. I'm a little worried because he seems like sometimes he does not throw enough volume in his fights. It seems like he's kind of scared to push the pace a little bit. Like against Mitch Raposo, it was a split decision, but I feel like it shouldn't have been a split decision. It was a pretty clear win for Andre Lima. But either way, it was a close fight. It was 29-28, I believe. But there's just no way you give it to Mitch Raposo. But Mitch Raposo is a guy who's not good. Like, he fights up at the New England Cartel with Rob Font and Calvin Kattar, and they're known for producing bums. I've said this plenty of times. Those guys, if you're not Calvin Kattar and you're not Rob Font, you're shit if you come out of that gym. They don't produce anyone good. Mitch Raposo's no different, and Andre Lima just seemed like he didn't put enough out there. He doesn't throw enough. I'd like to see him be a little bit more active, throw a little bit more, and I think he'd be a really good fighter, someone to look out for. Felipe Dos Santos had that really close fight with Manel Kape on short notice. And while I think Manel Kape is good, he is good, I do think he's a tad overrated. I've said this plenty of times. Again, we've seen this plenty of times where a guy steps in on short notice, has a really close fight with a really good high-level opponent, and then in their next fight, and a big step down, they have a disappointing performance. I mean, look at Basil Hafez. He took JDM to a split decision. And then in his next fight, he's fighting fucking Mickey Gall, for fuck's sake. He's fighting Mickey Gall, and he barely beats Mickey Gall. So I could see Andre Lima just kind of shutting down the Felipe Dos Santos train. Like, I could see a very clear Andre Lima win, like a 30-27 decision where he dominates all 3 rounds, and people are like, oh, how did this guy go to such a close decision with Manel Kape? He just got dominated by Andre Lima. I could see something like that happening. I'm going to go Andre Lima. I'm going to trust his leg kicks over Felipe Dos Santos. Oh, my God. Isaac Dulgarian versus Brendon Marotte. Brendon Marotte is a plus 1,000 underdog. Isaac Dulgarian is minus 1,800. I've seen him as high as a 25-1 favorite, minus 2,500, which is crazy in an MMA fight where one punch is all it takes to go to sleep. Odds should never be that high in a cage fight. That's just my opinion, dude. Anything can happen. I don't care how shit Brendon Marotte is. Yeah, spoiler alert, I'm gonna go with Isaac Dulgarian because Brendon Marotte is shit and can't fight, but stay away from this fight. Do not bet on this fight. I shouldn't even have to say it. You don't bet on a minus 1,800 favorite. If anything, you put a little bit on Brendon Marotte, but you're just donating at that point. Like, Brendon Marotte is awful. He cannot fight. He sucks at the striking. He sucks in the grappling. He shouldn't be in the UFC. Isaac Dulgarian, they're giving him Brendon Marotte just for a bounce-back win. He lost to Christian Rodriguez in his last fight, a close split decision loss in a fight that I think he should have won, in all honesty. But going from Christian Rodriguez, who is somewhat talented of a fighter, to Brendon Marotte, who is just absolutely fucking awful and cannot fight at all, yeah, they're just throwing him a layup. They're lobbing up Brendon Marotte, and Isaac Dulgarian is going to slam it home and probably submit him in round 1. I'm going to go Isaac Dulgarian round 1 submission over Brendon Marotte. He can honestly KO him if he wants to. Like, he can just kind of do whatever he wants. I could see a highlight reel finish, highlight reel KO from Isaac Dulgarian, in all honesty. Like a Bo Nickel, Val Woodburn type beat, or what's the other guy that had a KO? Raul Rosas Jr. over Terrence Mitchell, where the grappler gets a KO. I could see that happening. I'm going to go Isaac Dulgarian. Yeah, fuck, I'll go Isaac Dulgarian, round 1 KO. Wouldn't be surprised if it's a sub, but I'll go KO just because Brendon Marotte's shit and he can do whatever he wants to him. Rongzhu versus Chris Padilla. This is another road to UFC guy. Rongzhu was actually in the UFC a while ago, but then he got cut, I believe, and now he's back in the UFC. He's fighting Chris Padilla. Chris Padilla just fought James Lontop, who he beat. Chris Padilla, I'm pretty sure, was a pretty big underdog in that fight. I believe that was I believe that was James Lontop's UFC debut. And he beat Lontop. And it turns out Lontop is kind of shit and can't fight. Neither can Chris Padilla. He's not that good. I don't think Chris Padilla is very good. He is a pretty big underdog for a reason, plus 205. I'm going to go Rongzhu. I know he's got the typical Asian record of 25-5, and he's fighting a bunch of bums. But I think he's good enough to beat Chris Padilla, who just cannot fight. He is a can, and that just shows you how bad James Lontop really is. Chris Padilla's gonna want to grapple. He's gonna want to work his wrestling, his submissions. And Rongzhu, I think, is too strong for that. I don't think he's gonna get manhandled by Chris Padilla. So yeah, I'm gonna go Rongzhu over Chris Padilla. I'll say he gets it done by decision. Maybe he gets a late finish, but I'll go decision. Trevor Peek versus Yanal Ashmouz. Trevor Peek is a favorite. I did not expect that. I'm still gonna pick Trevor Peek. I thought he'd be an underdog, honestly. Yanal Ashmouz is pretty good. He's pretty powerful. Pretty good counter striker. And Trevor Peek is open to be hit because he fights like a idiot. Like his chin's up in the air. He's very... You know how Trevor Peek fights. I don't need to explain it to you. Trevor Peek is very wild. He's a wild man's wild man. He's just going to go out there and throw hammer fists, standing hammer fists, and look to KO Yanal Ashmouz. And... Yanal Ashmouz, he is powerful and he is a good counter striker, but he strikes me as a guy that crumbles under pressure. Like Trevor Peek, he's got a pretty good chin. So I think when Ashmouz hits him with his best shots and Trevor Peek is still standing and he's not going away, and Trevor Peek is still walking him down, putting pressure on him, putting him against the cage and throwing his stupid standing hammer fists, he's going to crumble. He's going to crumble under the pressure that Trevor Peek puts on him. So I'm going to take Trevor Peek to KO Yanal Ashmouz in round 1 or maybe round 2. I can see the pressure that Trevor Peek puts on Yanal Ashmouz getting to him and eventually wearing him down, and maybe like a TKO where Ashmouz is against the cage, Trevor Peek's landing big shots, and eventually he falls down against the cage and the ref steps in and stops the fight. So I'm going to go Trevor Peek I'll say round 2 TKO over Yanal Ashmouz. Now, this is a new fight that just got booked. Matt Schnell versus Cody Durden. And I could not believe my eyes when I saw these odds. Cody Durden is a minus 535 favorite, dude. I understand Matt Schnell has no chin. Like, he literally cannot get punched in the face without falling down. But minus 535 for Cody Durden? Dude, he's not that good. Like, you know, he's not... He's not that good, bro. That's crazy. It's a little disrespectful for Matt Schnell. Like, I wouldn't mind throwing some money on Matt Schnell, honestly. I could see Matt Schnell winning this fight. That's ridiculous. But I'm going to go Cody Durden. After saying all that, I'm still going with Cody Durden. But minus 500, I do not bet on this. This is awful. Don't parlay Cody Durden with anything. Do not put him anywhere near your parlays. Stay away from Cody Durden at minus 500. That's crazy. Matt Schnell has no chin, but, I mean, dude, what do they think they're going to do? They think Cody Durden's going to go out there and flatline Matt Schnell? I mean, I'm not saying he can't, but, dude, this guy hasn't KO'd anyone since J.P. Bays, who was shit at fighting. Like, he KO'd J.P. Bays in 2022, and that's his only KO win in the UFC. Is he really going to KO Matt Schnell? And probably, but, like, dude, I don't know. That just seems crazy. Minus 500 is insane. But I'm going to go Cody Durden. I'm going to say he uses his wrestling to get it done over Matt Schnell. I honestly don't think he finishes him. I'm going to say he wins a decision over Matt Schnell. I don't see it. Matt Schnell, yes, he has no chin. I understand. Trust me, I understand. I really do. I was picking him to get KO'd by Alessandro Costa, who is a very powerful hitter. But Matt Schnell, he got KO'd by Ursa. He got KO'd by Nicolau. He got choked out by Royval, and he got KO'd by Pantoja. Like, those are really good opponents. Nicolau hits pretty hard. Urseg hits hard. Royval is a submission. Pantoja is obviously a champ. And in the Suma Dwergi fight, honestly, it's a miracle he didn't get KO'd in that fight. But he does hit hard. Suma Dwergi hits pretty hard. So those are heavy hitters. Cody Durden has only KO'd one man in the UFC. But I'll take him to win by decision. Maybe he does KO Matt Schnell. Maybe Matt Schnell's chin really is just the worst we've ever seen. But, yeah, Cody Durden should probably win this fight, but I don't like those odds at all. Next up, Steve Garcia versus Kyle Nelson. This was Calvin Kattar versus Kyle Nelson, I believe. Or maybe that was supposed to be on an earlier card. And now Kyle Nelson's fighting on this card instead. I can't remember. But I know Kyle Nelson versus Calvin Kattar was supposed to happen at one point, and now he's fighting Steve Garcia. And I'm going to go with Steve Garcia, I think. Steve Garcia has 4 KO wins in a row. Just KO'd about a month and a half ago. Sung Woo Choi KO'd Melchizedek Costa about 8 months ago. Shailin Nerdembeke KO'd about a year ago. Chase Hooper KO. I don't put much value into that. Chase Hooper is awful at featherweight. Chase Hooper at lightweight is a different story. But 4 KO wins in a row. Kyle Nelson's going to a draw with Doo Ho Choi. Don't like that. Blake Builder, good win, I guess. Bill Algeo just KO'd Bill Algeo about 5 months ago. Steve Garcia, he's hot, no diddy. He's on a roll. 4 KO wins in a row. I'm going to trust in him. I think he's just better than Kyle Nelson, who lost to Jai Herbert. He lost to Billy Quarantillo. Don't like that. I think Steve Garcia is the better fighter. I think he's going to get it done over Kyle Nelson. Unfortunate for Kyle Nelson. He had a chance in the rankings against Calvin Kattar, who I think would have absolutely smashed him as well. I never understood that matchmaking. That was very, very weird. But now that fight's no more, and now he's fighting Steve Garcia, who's probably going to KO him. So I'll go Steve Garcia round 1 KO. Why not? Jessica Andrade versus Natalia Silva. Now, Jessica Andrade is a pretty big underdog, plus 250. And I get it, she's getting older. Natalia Silva is on a pretty good roll as of late. Natalia Silva has not lost a fight since 2017, where she lost to Marina Rodriguez on the regional scene. So she's undefeated. I don't know how many wins in a row. But she's a pretty good striker. She's very good off the back foot. She's very good at counter striking. She's good at fighting at range. Jessica Andrade, she just finds a way to get it done every time. Like, she's a short, powerful woman. But Natalia Silva is more technical. She's more skilled. I was going to pick Jessica Andrade. I did pick Jessica Andrade originally. But I think if skill prevails and logic makes sense, Natalia Silva should win this fight. She is more skilled than Jessica Andrade. But I could see Jessica Andrade winning this fight just because women's MMA doesn't make any sense. Jessica Andrade has more testosterone than Natalia Silva, who is very feminine. She might be a little too feminine to beat Jessica Andrade, who should probably be looking to fight Brandon Moreno sometime soon, if I'm being completely honest. But I'll go with Natalia Silva. I'll trust in the skill difference. I think Natalia Silva is very good as a striker, very good counter striker. I think she can catch Jessica Andrade, who is going to be rushing in like an idiot, swinging overhands. So I'm going to trust that she can probably time an overhand and find a counter shot on Andrade, maybe KO her. I will go with Natalia Silva. I would not be surprised if Andrade wins. I'm telling you right now, would not be surprised at all. But I'll go Natalia Silva by round 2 KO over Jessica Andrade. Main event, Gilbert Burns versus Sean Brady. Gilbert Burns is a slight underdog, and Sean Brady's a slight favorite. I'm going to stick with my original pick. I'm going to go Gilbert Burns over Sean Brady. Gilbert Burns, He is older. He's like 38 now. Sean Brady's the young up-and-coming prospect that he's hungry to get to the top. Sean Brady just coming off a win over Kelvin Gastelum. Before that, he was TKO'd by Belal Muhammad, which is an awful, awful look. I know Belal Muhammad's a champion now, but you cannot get standing TKO'd by Belal Muhammad. It's unacceptable. Gilbert Burns, he lost to Belal Muhammad much more impressively. He got injured in round 1 and still went full 5 rounds with Belal Muhammad. Lost to Khamzat Chimaev, lost to JDM, a fight he was winning until the last round where he got KO'd. So, like, he's winning against the up-and-coming prospect. Like, he was holding his own. Even if you think JDM should have been up, he was still competing, and he was still giving JDM a good fight. Gilbert Burns, he's going to have the power advantage. Sean Brady is pillow-fisted. He might land more than Gilbert Burns. I could see him landing more volume than Gilbert Burns in the striking, but I think Gilbert Burns' shots are going to have more pop in them. Like, Brady's going to hit Burns with a jab, and then Burns will hit Brady with a jab, and you'll see a big visible difference in their reactions. Burns is going to have the power advantage. Brady, I know he just submitted Kelvin Gastelum with a Kimura, I believe. Kelvin Gastelum's a fat loser. I don't care. I'm not being moved by a win from Kelvin Gastelum. He's a bum. He's a fat loser, like I said. Kelvin Gastelum is not Gilbert Burns. I don't think you're going to ragdoll Gilbert Burns like that. He actually, takes his career somewhat seriously. Kelvin Gastelum's just a big fatty doo-doo loser who eats Taco Bell on fight day and just misses weight because he doesn't care about fighting. Gilbert Burns actually trains. He's powerful. He's a good grappler. And I just don't think Sean Brady's quite ready for the jump up into the top 5 of welterweight. Is Gilbert Burns even in the top 5 anymore? No, he's 6. Wow. Okay. I'm not surprised, but I think Gilbert Burns, he's faced much better competition. Sean Brady's going to be, on paper, the worst fighter he's fought in recent memory. Like, he's worse than Chimaev. He's worse than JDM. He's worse than Masvidal, maybe. I guess. I don't fucking know. But Sean Brady is a big step down for Gilbert Burns. Like, JDM is a really, really talented boxer. Sean Brady has no power in his stand-up. So I think Gilbert Burns can win this fight in the stand-up and keep Sean Brady off of him. But I am a little worried for Burns because Sean Brady is a strong, densely built welterweight. He's pretty strong. I think he could overpower Burns and, like, just hold him down and win a decision off of control time or something like that. Maybe he submits Burns. It's possible. I don't see it, but he is strong, and I do worry that Burns, if he gets taken down, I'm not sure how much I trust his ability to get back up if Brady is on top of him. But the guy got standing TKO'd by Belal Muhammad. I don't like that. Burns is much more powerful. I think he can frustrate Brady. Maybe Brady gets worn out from takedown attempts. Maybe he gasses a little bit, starts to slow down, and Burns takes over in the striking. Finds a late finish. I could see that. I'm going to go Gilbert Burns, trusting the level of competition faced. He's been at the top of the sport for a long time. Just hard to trust Sean Brady's stand-up after watching him get just pieced apart by Belal Muhammad on the feet and standing TKO'd, where he refused to throw back in that entire sequence. Never stood his ground, just constantly backed up and got TKO'd standing by Belal Muhammad. It's hard to see that happen and then trust him to beat Gilbert Burns. I don't care how old Gilbert Burns is. It's just not a good look to have. So I'm going to go Gilbert Burns still, not changing my pick. I'll take Gilbert Burns by maybe 4th round, 3rd round TKO, something like that. But those are going to be my picks for UFC Fight Night, Burns versus Brady. Let me know who you guys got in the main event. Are you going with Gilbert Burns or are you going with Sean Brady? Let me know in the comments, and I will see you next time.